Good morning, folks. Good morning. Today is Sunday morning, October 25, 2020, and the time is now about 4:29 a.m. And the lights are off in the room. I'm in my living room, relaxing on the sofa, and the light that you see is my monitor. I was watching one of my videos. I went to bed early. And when I go to bed early and fall asleep, I also wake up early. I woke up around 1:30 in the morning. I want to talk about what I did yesterday. I went to um, vote. Yes, the early voting option. And I said to myself, this would be a very good idea for me to go because I feel that November 3rd will be a real melee. And I want the day of the election, I want to be at home. I want to be safe and feel safe. I'm glad I did it. I left my house, I know it was after noontime, and I walked over to the poll site for early voting. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. There were two separate lines, and the lines wrapped around the block. So you had to go 4 lengths. Yep, it was the polling station at Madison Square Gardens on 34th Street between 7th, I think 6th and 7th Avenue. It was something, oh yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, I walked on 8th Avenue. Okay, so maybe it was actually between 8th and 7th Avenue. I know by the time I reached to the spot where I was going to stay, it was 1:11 p.m. And it was, I think, after 5 when I got out, when I finally voted and left. Yeah, the actual process, once you got in the poll station, what they did, those people had bags, like a purse, whatever. You had to go through a scanner, and then there was like a desk, and it was they used it looked like a what do you call it? One of those notebooks, and all electronic, and they asked for my name, and then they turned the pad around and said, "Is this your name?" I had your name, address, and all that. I said yes, and they gave me a pen, and the pen had this little, like a little cushion up where the tip would be, and you use that to sign your name on it electronically. And you could also click the pen and use it. It's like a two-in-one. Work with the device and then to fill in your ballot. So after I checked in the front with that computer, they had me get this ballot, and then they had a little booth, to give you privacy, but like a little paper thing. It's like a little stand-up tape, that you stand up on, like a podium almost, and then the sides and the front is covered, like a board, and you fill in your ballot, and then you walk it over to the machine, and it sucks it in. Is in the front and back of the paper you fill in, and I did my vote, it sucked it right away. And I was like, checking. They had like which number you are, and um, I guess how many people use that specific machine, and then another number. I think total who registered. So it was like 400 something 200 or 400 something that used that machine, and over 1,000 something, I guess, who voted so far at the site. And then I left. Yeah, the whole process, once you walk in that door, yeah, they weren't kidding, about 5 minutes, really quick. And it could have been even quicker, because I was like making sure I fill in what I needed to fill in. Um, what stands out for me, well, yes, I was very, very tired. At one point, I felt a little faint. Thank God I had a big breakfast, boy. I had my carbs, yes, I did. I'm glad that I did that. And let's see, yeah, the line was tremendous. People were well behaved on the line. And I want to talk about how I felt like waiting. 34th Street area. Yeah, because we had to walk down, from 34th Street, walking east and wrap around that building. The people. 34th Street is a major shopping district. That's also where Macy's department store is. And a lot of street people, druggies, and it's very, very sad. And I looked on the line that I was on, and you didn't see any black people. No black people online. There was a very light-skinned guy. He had head texture similar to myself, but he's very pale skin. Maybe he was Hispanic. I don't know. Mixed race, very fair-skinned mixed race. I don't know what he was. But outside of him, there were no black people. And I was concerned with that. I said, wow, this is New York City, and most people that I see in New York City are people of color. And the people that you saw on the street, what you call the street people, the druggies, I would say 99% of them were black. So how is it that when we got to voting and on the line, it's based also on your address. There's where do you live, blah blah blah, and okay, this is for your your early voting. Poll site would be at such and such, at the Madison Square Garden, the lobby. So why are we not represented in voting on that line? And there are black people that live where I live. Many of the black people where I live, there's a place for performers, and then there are the hotels that the government buys to house former inmates and the like. And I would say maybe almost 100% of them are black people. So how is it that when it comes down to voting, there were no black people on that line, that long line? I was looking. But the people on the street are all black. Something is wrong with that. There is a problem. A very severe problem that blacks aren't being represented in the voting. See, part of the problem, to my understanding, is that when you become a felon, you lose lose the opportunity to vote in elections. I think this is a deliberate tactic to put pressure on Black people to make it so that they don't hire you. The propaganda that you see in the media against you, propaganda. I was just watching a film by Crispus Attucks, not a film, but a discussion about him, and historically over time that he was removed from history. And the only time that you really hear about Crispus Attucks, one of 5 people who were the initial people who died in the American Revolution. And he was a man of color, some type of mixed Black person. The records call him a mulatto. Other things suggested that he was a Black and Native American. But again, it wasn't clear. There's a conflict of information, but the consensus is that he had a black component. And yes, he was a slave who bought his freedom. So if you're given this message about yourself, when even in history, and you were involved in every war in the Americas, but you're not being represented, they don't want to discuss your stand in American history, and you're being pushed out in voting and creating a hostile environment for you to live in this country. And you populate the jails and prisons in urban centers. Why is this? This is a concern that I have about being an American, being someone of Black heritage, being someone who is born and raised in New York City, and not fully understanding what racism is, but you knew that as a little girl that there was a problem. And you're seeing the disparities of people and how people even act. You see the disparities how Black people act amongst themselves and how non-Blacks act among themselves. And you see the disparities in where you live and how you live in comparison to others. So this election that I did yesterday, the early voting, I should say, is just another reflection and a disparity of fairness in the voting opportunities. Why is this? This is what racism smells like. We don't want to talk about it. And I am concerned about, I am pro-Trump, but I do have a lot of concerns about certain things in his rallies. I like to know why at his rallies, how come he's not going to rallies that are catering to Black people, Black America? His rallies, and most all rallies that I've ever seen in America are overwhelmingly white people. But then there's overwhelmingly Black people when it comes to despair and poverty and not being represented in the voting process. I would love to see Trump have rallies with what they call a minority population group, a Black population group. He hasn't been to New York City, Well, again, New York City is a heavily Democrat uh, district. Um, but people, I mean, I people want to be heard, and I think a black audience, if Trump comes in and says, I want to talk to Black America, and I'm going to rally and visit your community. I think a lot of black people will come out and want to go see him. New York City was always in favor of Trump. Growing up, I've never heard any anti anti-Trump sentiment against Trump from black New Yorkers. Never. So why shouldn't it be any different now? I would like him to go and address a black audience, a rally to come to urban America, not just the boonies. It's like he's going to places where it's more rural than urban. I would like him to go to urban America. Because again, we are the deciding factor, it seems like, in America when it comes to voting. When that last remnant of voters coming in. So I don't want anybody to take my vote for granted. I live here. I was born here. I served in the U.S. military, and I want to be heard. And I want to be represented. I want to be represented. I want to see homelessness removed. I want a plan of action to educate, to house, to feed, to employ Black America. We are forgotten, and it seems like we only are valuable when you need our bodies to fight in your wars, America. I am a proud American. I am an American. And yes, I did serve in the military, the U.S. Navy. Okay? I served. But I don't want us to be taken advantage of. So when it comes to war, you have us. And what else? And election. They pander us, but they never tell you what they're going to do for you. And I also saw, I think it was yesterday morning, it was Puffy Combs. And he was being scrutinized. Oh, and he said that he wants to present a black party, political party. And he was being interviewed by this disc jockey by the name of Charlemagne. Yeah, that's his artist name. It's not his real name, but he goes by the name of Charlemagne. It was an interesting interview. Puffy was speaking very boldly. He's anti-Trump. And I thought that was really interesting, why he's anti-Trump. He feels that Trump is a racist. But he's never said anything racist to Black America. And you have Hispanics voting for him. Oh, you bet. So, again, he's entitled to what he believes, Puffy Combs. But he wants to form a black party, a black political party. And I'm asking myself, I mean, I don't have anything, hold anything against that, but I'm wondering why now. And it should have been a wake up call with Obama when we weren't being represented. Nothing. I feel Trump at least speaks boldly on things that he is considering with Black America policies. I've never heard Obama talk about it, but Trump, yes. So it should have been a wake up call for Puffy Combs when Obama came into office. See, for him to not say anything then, he was being lulled by Obama because of his skin color, and it gave him a false sense of security. It should have been a wake up call that, hey, we put him in office, but yet he's not addressing us. Minority does not mean black. Black America is Black America, and he didn't do anything specifically for the black community. And there was another celebrity. Oh, who is that now? There's another black person. Oh, another singer. Oh, how can I forget his name? He's the one. He was. I hate to say it like this. He was hospitalized. How could I forget his name? Oh, Kanye. Kanye West. Kanye West. He put up a video that I saw for the first time to run for office, the presidency. And he was also interviewed by Rogan. He's a talk show host. He comes on YouTube. It was a long interview. I saw most of it. But even though he may kind of go all over the place, but actually, if you have to listen with Kanye West, you have to listen very carefully. And what he says about a lot of things is true. He thinks like an artist. If you talk to real artists, they think differently. They think multiple layers at the same time. But when you really listen, he makes a point about certain things, and I was impressed with certain things he said, such as he said that he's always amazed how with kids, like a school project or something, and they have something for the kids to do in school, but like on a smaller scale. And he says, like it was something with food, and I think it was food or farming or something like that. And he says, why? Basically, he's saying, if this is what people are going to be eating or what they're going to be selecting, shouldn't these kids be able to have 100% of to fulfill this to occur? I mean, basically he's saying, okay, you have a program, put into action. He says these kids may one day lose their parents, and they'll be required to be able to provide for themselves to make it happen so that they live. And I understood. I understood what he was saying. Don't dumb it down or scale it down. Make it a something that can actually be achieved, to be done. Not 70% of it, but all of it. And it made sense to me. It made a lot. I understood. It's like when I was in college, I had this program to do. I had this paper, and we had to develop it from the ground up. And it's like, why? I think the whole point of that project we had to do, not some like a toy, create something that could actually be performed. It was something with a school, a black American school, a program to educate black children. And it made sense. Yeah. So it's really interesting that you have Kanye West and then you have Puffy Combs, both similar genre of music, and now they're coming out, but they didn't come out with Obama. They waited 8 years, and we should have realized at the first term that nothing was being done for us. Minority just is not the same as black people. There was nothing done, no policy specifically with the black American in mind. But you're using fear because of Trump and the lies that people say about Trump. Now, there are things that I am concerned about Trump that I made mention in several videos ago. This month I did a video and I discussed about Trump, and I was concerned about his thing about teaching American history, and it was something else. I can't remember exactly, but it made me concerned about becoming too much to the far right. History, what history are you going to teach? A glamorized history, but overlooking slavery. When you call people pioneers, you created a falsehood. These were terrorists. And we don't want to vilify the so-called American heroes. It's what side on the fence that you're on. If you're a black person or Native American Indian, all those so-called pioneers were people who had the license to shoot to kill. Shoot you and kill you, and no questions asked. And that should be taught in school. I am pro-America, but I want to teach a real history, a full history about us. And there was something else. I wish I could remember with Trump, and I became concerned. But overall, I like Trump's. I think I did best under Trump than any other president. I was doing very well under Trump. I started out very well this year, and then boom, the COVID hit, and it threw many of us for a loop. So yeah, these are some of the concerns I have about the election. Yes, I voted yesterday, and I'm concerned about the lack of leadership in the black community, and that we're only now getting really involved because you're afraid of Trump. And I think Trump is really, in comparison, Trump is better a leader than Obama. But see, we don't want to see that. We don't want to see the truth. We want to believe everything what other people say about people who are in office. People are trying to manipulate our thinking, and we fall for a lot of this stuff. Again, it's a free country. I like to say that. I like to believe that. You have the right to vote for who you want to vote for. You're entitled to that. Uh, yeah, that's all that I have to say. So, yeah, these are the concerns I have about the election. Recap that I voted yesterday in the uh, early voting in New York City. Uh, I didn't see any black people on the line to vote, yet where we had a vote were tons of black people living on the street, druggies, and all riffraff. 99% of them were black. I saw one white derelict and one white female derelict. Everybody else was black. Very sad, very sad. So we're not on the line, but we're on the street. We're not being represented in the voting, and that shouldn't be. And the last thing I really mentioned was, oh, what's that now? My concerns with the black performing, musicians who now want to get into politics out of fear, and they should have been afraid when Obama came in. So that's all. I thank you for listening. Peace and love to you all. Signing off.